call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASU strike.
You have done your work and put us to the wall. We are not the slaves.
I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.
We'll sincerely apologize for that hitch. Was occasioned by technical problem. Good news is it has now been rectified. Again, a very good morning to you. I'm Uyag Mofwebe, live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. And this is Global Morning. It's a great midweek, and it's just the middle of the week. A wonderful opportunity for us to take a look back at what our week has been like, because it is the first half of it. You can also use that as a basis to gauge your success, your progress, with regards to all the goals you set for the week, for this month, and by extension for the year. You know, it is just a few, it's a second, a combination of seconds that makes 1 year. So we should make it count. That's the point we're making. On our part here at Global Television, we're also making it count by bringing you big conversations across the country and even beyond. Nigeria is still very challenged in terms of its economy, in terms of being able to deliver the goods to citizens, as it said, especially in light of the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu. Questions have been asked about certain policies, certain pronouncements that are not necessarily policies, including actions taken by the federal government under the leadership of President Tinubu, whether or not those moves have the promise, the potential, right, to deliver value for Nigeria. Of course, the president has assured time and again, he has even reassured to say, look, whatever we are doing today may not just be the magic wand, may not just bring that reform, that transformation just yet. However, there's going to be an incubation period, all right? And that process, he says, has started. So Nigerians probably, while being keen on seeing these changes come to fruition, this promise come to fruition, are also keeping their fingers crossed to see how it all pans out. We understand that as of yesterday, it was still a challenge for people to get fuel in some cities across the country, particularly in some parts of the FCT here and then in Lagos, because of the strike that had been announced by NATO, which we understand has now been called off. But then, speaking of strikes, we understand Labour still has its own strike scheduled for later in the month. It's said to be a 2-day warning strike, after which, depending on whether or not government meets its demands, will embark on a nationwide full throttle strike. But we pray that doesn't happen, because when it's all said and done, it is Nigeria that suffers, obviously on account of the fact that it's always a case of when two elephants fight. In this case, the so-called elephants being the federal government and the organized labor. All right, but we, in the middle of all that, we understand the National Assembly is now making moves to probe the government of former president, immediate past president, I should also state, Muhammadu Buhari, in certain areas. In this case in particular, they are looking at some 30 trillion naira loans that had been taken, all right, under the former president, all right. They want to look at what exactly even necessitated those borrowings in the first instance, what they were used for, where are the outcomes commensurate with the value, with the amount of investment that had been done, and more importantly, the rationale behind the borrowing in the first instance. And when you talk about borrowing, the government under the leadership of President Tinubu has also continued borrowing, and that doesn't look like it's just going to end so soon. We understand the government is now also seeking some $10 billion, the current government, some $10 billion to be able to stabilize Forex, because, for those who follow the news, you realize that the Naira has steadily been weakened against the US dollar. As of yesterday, you look at the parallel market, you look at the official market, and then you are alarmed, especially when you realize where we were with the dollar between November and December. This is just February, all right? And we now have people saying that between the end of February and middle of March, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to be having a situation where the dollar exchanges for something in the neighborhood of 2,000 against the, to the naira. And that is alarming, that is scary, that is a pointer to how bad a place we are as a country and as an economy, and of course as a government. It speaks to how that there are fundamental issues in the fiscal and monetary policy frameworks of this country that we need to look at as a matter of urgency, and then very importantly, with sincerity of purpose. Okay, now time to join Fatima Abba to bring you Taste and Texture.
Jollof rice is a rice dish that is popular in West African countries and all over the world. It is a one-pot dish where rice is slowly cooked in a rich tomato sauce, herbs, and spices base. There are different variations of West African jollof rice, including the Nigerian jollof rice, Senegalese, Liberian, and Ghana jollof rice. Cooking jollof rice, a seasoned tomato rice dish. Jollof rice is a West African dish that is a staple in most households and at parties, where you can be rest assured that there will be pans and pans of it. The ingredients needed are rice, bell peppers, tomatoes, brown onions, red onions, tomato puree, vegetable oil, curry powder, dried thyme, white pepper, bay leaves, Scotch bonnet, chicken broth, salt, plum or salad tomato, butter. And now let's make it. Here is a detailed step-by-step on how to cook jollof rice. First, blend the bell pepper, plum tomatoes, Scotch bonnet, and brown onions. Place a pot on heat. Add oil into the pot, then add in sliced onions. This should take about 2 minutes. Next, add in the tomato puree, tomato paste. Fry for 5 to 10 minutes till reduced in quantity. Add the blended pepper, curry, dried thyme, stock cubes, bay leaves, and salt. Fry till it's dark and red and no longer raw. It will be reduced in quantity, thick, and the oil floats to the top of the sauce. This takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Then add the chicken broth into the boiling water. Stir, add the washed rice, cover the pot tightly, and cook the rice on low heat till it's almost tender. It takes about 25 minutes. Add the remaining sliced onions, sliced tomato, and butter. Cover the pot and continue to steam the rice till it's tender. Stir the rice and take it off heat. Serve and enjoy your simple, heartwarming, and delicious jollof rice. That's all for now. See you same time next time for another interesting episode on Taste and Texture. I remain your host, Fatima Abba Umar.
Well, that was jollof rice. Once I saw that video roll, I started craving. But is it not too early? I'm not sure my mom will be impressed with that. It's just past 7, at least in West Africa. All right, so thank you so much, Fatima Umar, for that brilliant work you and Sharon Ajay continue to do with the production of Taste and Texture. Of course, we have business right up ahead of us, but we just wanted to talk about a few other issues, particularly as it has to do with where we are today as a government. We've seen so much of protest. We've seen people now taking to the streets to say, look, we are fed up, we're tired of this back and forth with our economy. There are now families who before now, all right, were able to, as it were, fend for themselves, put at least 2 meals, whether they are square or not, on the table. But some of them are probably now struggling with one. It's even worse for families and households, all right? So these are people who are now feeling frustrated. Some of them now feeling, they don't see any hope in sight. Whether or not what government is saying by way of assurance and reassurances is getting to them is a different kettle of fish. But in the meantime, we've seen protests in Kano, we've seen in Sokoto, we've seen in even places like Niger State. Of course, Niger State is a particular case, which I'm going to circle back to in a minute. But the most recent of them is Ibadan, which was on Monday. And if you follow that video, yes, the protest was hitch-free. The protest was peaceful. The police and the NSADC did a great job providing security, providing cover for them. So you didn't have hoodlums and all of those criminal elements hijacking the process. However, it doesn't change the fact that the message was very clear. People are suffering, hardship is getting heightened and becoming more intense by the day, and that in itself is a whole lot of concern. We're taking a quick break now, and when we return, we'll talk a bit more about these issues. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us, everyone. I've been joined now by my colleague, Queen Agaba. It's been a while since you last saw both of us here, but again, it's another week, middle of it actually. So Queen, it's a delight seeing you again on the show this morning.
Thank you, and as always, it's always a delight.
Yeah, I figured. So before you joined a while ago, I was just talking about the state of the nation, the pockets of protests that we've seen from Niger to Kano to Sokoto. I think we had seen a bit of it in Lagos and Oyo, and the most recent, of course, the most recent is Oyo Ibadan that we saw on Monday. A while ago, I was just mentioning of how that it was peaceful, at least for the most part, yes. The police, the NSADC in collaboration did an excellent job with the process. Nothing like the protest being hijacked by hoodlums and people going haywire and so on and so forth. But it doesn't change the fact that the message that we've seen that is common across all these protests is that the protesters themselves, I mean, of course, Nigerians are saying, we can't continue like this. I mean, we are not in a good place. That's not news anymore. But we are not seeing what the government is doing. Even if, with a big if, the government is sincerely doing anything about the situation, it appears it's not paying off. And if that's the case, the only option we have at this point is to take to the streets and vent about how we feel.
And I hope that in our venting, something is done about it, because Nigerians have been crying virtually everywhere, on social media, on TV stations, everywhere. You just hear while I was coming to work this morning, what most people were talking about was hardship. Everybody's complaining. You can't have a straight conversation with someone without them telling you about how bad the economy is, and that is really pathetic. At this point, as it stands, I'm in support of the protest, and I'm really hoping
as long as it's peaceful,
yes, as long as it's peaceful and it calls for peaceful resolution. I'm in support of it, because that's the only option we have now. We've been hearing of meetings, closed-door meetings here and there, plans, ultimatum, and all that, and those actions have not, as far as I'm concerned, yielded any positive outcome. So the protest, and I'm glad that Nigerians are beginning to realize this. Most of the people who, we least expect to, come out, and that's to tell you that it hit everybody. It hit everybody. And so we're coming out in our numbers to protest the incessant hike in fuel price and food, especially food. Food that is basic. So,
it's interesting. As Parks will tell you, look, you can't even divorce both fuel price and the food inflation we've found right now, because whether you like it or not, when fuel was sold for less than 200, it was a different situation, different reality altogether. But now that it sells for upwards of 700, what do you expect? People have to find a way to move farm produce all the way to the market, and that doesn't happen by magic. You have to fuel the vehicles that bring these food items to the market, and then in the end, whatever happens to fuel will definitely rub off. Yes, exactly, on the prices of food, because it's a matter of what touches one touches all, that kind of thing. But you cover business and you talk to people on Business Point a lot. What exactly is their sense about where Nigeria is? What are they saying about the possibility of coming out of this, and what should be done in specific terms to ensure we survive and raise our heads above the water?
Most of the conversations that I've had with people who talk in line with the price of fuel inflation, I mean, dollar is almost getting to 2,000.
We're looking at excess of 1,500 already.
Anybody had told me this, that dollar would be at 1,600, 1,000, I probably would think that person is, maybe going haywire. But it's becoming a reality. And most of the conversations I have, people are saying that this all together is basically the fault of the government, and the government should take drastic measures, drastic actions to see that regulates. Now, for example, you can't say, I'm giving an instance of the ultimatum that was given to bring down the cost of food prices. The government needs to, the prices are not regulated by farmers. Farmers don't tell you how much this and this and this
are sold for.
The factors around transportation, electricity, storage, and all of those things that contribute to the price of food that we have. And so you don't tell them bring down the price of food and all of this if these factors are not regulated. Fuel price, cost of transportation, and then importation. We rely heavily on importation, and it's quite sad. And so that is a heavy factor. The cost of importing these things, these prices are not regulated. You cannot just say that food prices should come down within 7 days if you don't regulate this. So everyone, as it is right now, is calling on the government to take strategic measures. Strategic measures to ensure that there's a halt to all of this.
We hope that happens. But again, just in the next 2 minutes, the issue of regulating food prices is neither here nor there, because concerns have been raised. Okay, we said we're going to have commodity board, which many people I talk to say is long overdue. But the long and short of the story is most of the things we see today, most of the responses we see from governments, they are what economists would call knee-jerk reaction, which means that you're only being reactionary. You're only trying to make moves now because you're overwhelmed, you are inundated with the challenges. Whereas these are things we could have done as a country. We had opportunities to do 5, 7, 10, 15 years ago. We didn't do all of these things. And now today, it's like we are swamped up, all right, with the challenges. And this is a country of over 200 million people. So if you have an issue that has to do directly with food and inflation and the price of fuel, it's only a no-brainer that you are going to have this sort of outcome that we're having, sporadic reactions by way of demonstrations across the country. Look at a state like Niger, for example. Now, we heard stories about that there had been a rule that food is not allowed to be taken out of the states because they are also trying to keep their people safe. They are also trying to ensure that they secure enough food or something close to enough for their people. But again, the government has denied that flat. Several trucks carrying food items from Nigeria to neighboring countries had been intercepted by authorities just in the course of this week, the current week. That shows you how dire a situation. we're dealing with. The government must realize that elections are over. So this is the time to provide leadership. This is the time to do governance. This is the time to be serious about the business of leading Nigeria and bringing to fruition all of those promises that are embedded in the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu. The good thing for me, Queen, as we tie it up now, is that the president has said time and again very categorically that he understands the enormity of work that's on his desk, and that the people who work with him, whether they are the ministers or other aides, must also understand that they have no excuse. Okay, we have no excuse for not going on break at this point because we have the Global AM News right up ahead for you. But let's join Kikelamo Okere as we bring you an update now on business.
Hello and welcome to Business Reports on Global Morning. The Naira experienced a sharp depreciation against the US dollar, reaching an intraday high of 1,712 Naira. The domestic currency depreciated by 3.78% to close at 1,598 Naira to a dollar at the close of business. Data of the NAFEM, where Forex is officially traded, showed the intraday high recorded a record high of 1,712 Naira to a dollar, while the intraday low was 1,100 Naira to a dollar, representing a wide spread of 612 Naira to a dollar. According to data obtained from the official NAFEM window, Forex turnover at the close of trading was $66.43 million, representing a 21% decrease compared to the previous day. Similarly, the Naira depreciates against dollar in the parallel market, where Forex is unofficially traded with the exchange rate quoted at 1,655 Naira to a dollar. The Senate, through its Finance Committee, has made a significant push for the Federal Inland Revenue Service to aim for an ambitious tax revenue goal to 30 trillion Naira in 2024. This call to action was accompanied by a critical review of current tax waiver policies, which, according to the Senate, have led to the considerable loss of revenue estimated at 17 trillion Naira over the past 5 years. The discussion took place against the backdrop of FIRS budget presentation for 2024, spotlighting the urgent need to fiscal policy reform. Highlighting a major fiscal concern, the Senate Committee on Finance expressed its dissatisfaction with the current tax waiver system. Nigerian stock market has continued its negative trend, down by 0.11% as of noon on Tuesday, as investors failed to resume bargaining activities after a recent dip. The market has dipped on Monday by 3.15% or 1.82 trillion Naira, the highest daily decline this year, pushing many value stocks to new low. This bear run, which continued on Tuesday after Monday's huge dip in the market, happened as analysts asked investors to trade cautiously. The market's benchmark performance index reached a low of 102,276.75 points in early trading on Tuesday, from the preceding days of 102,393.23 points. Nigerian stock market fell massively on Monday, the first trading day of the week, as investors sold shares of largely capitalized companies like Dangote Cement and NTN. Kikelom Okere, Global Television News.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Global AM News. We are live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. The Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, has engaged the leadership and members of the Senate Committee on the passage of the proposed CIBN Act bill. The President and Chairman of Council of CIBN, Dr. Ken Okpara, disclosed this when he led a team from the Institute to the Senate. The team's visit was meant to seek Senate's favorable disposition towards the proposed CIBN Act bill and share critical thoughts on key issues affecting the banking and finance industry. Okpara commended the committee for the support it has given to the Institute towards the review of the extant laws in the financial sector. The House of Representatives has queried Access Bank, Citibank, Ecobank and Fidelity Bank over 11.632 trillion naira revenue collected on behalf of the federal government through the Remitter platform between 2015 and 2022 fiscal years. Bamidele Salam, Chairman, House Committee on Public Accounts, issued the query at the resumed investigative hearing on alleged revenue leakages through the Remitter platform in Abuja. The committee demanded all the agreements signed between all the participating domestic banks and System Spec and Remitter during the period on the review. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill to provide for the establishment of state police in the country. Sponsored by the Deputy Speaker of the House, Benjamin Kalu, and 14 others, the bill seeks to alter the relevant sections of the 1999 Constitution to pave the way for states to establish their own policing outfit. As lawmakers took turns to contribute to the debate on the floor of the House during today's plenary, Kalu, who stood in for the Speaker Abbas Tajuddin, urged members to look beyond political ambitions and think about the safety of Nigerians and Nigeria. The federal government says it will give more attention to fixing roads and seek some remedies on the cost of gas and import duties to bring down the astronomical price of cement nationwide. This is part of the communique that was reached during a meeting between the government and the major cement manufacturers in Abuja. Senator David Umahi, Minister of Works, and his counterpart, Minister of Trade and Investments, Doris Uzaka-Anite, and the three major cement manufacturers signed the communique. According to the document, the government has taken note of the challenges enumerated by the manufacturers, which include cost of gas, high import duty on spare parts, bad road network, high foreign exchange, and the smuggling of cement to neighboring nations. Civil servants in Niger State have declared an indefinite strike over the failure of the government to meet their demands. The civil servants, acting under the umbrella of the state chapter of the Nigerian Labour Congress, had presented some demands to the state government, which the NOC said the state reneged upon. It, however, said its doors were still open for negotiation. The Congress, in a letter to Governor Mohamed Bago dated February 19th and signed by the Chairman Idris Lafene and the Chairman of the Trade Union Congress, Ibrahim Ghana, said the strike would begin 8 a.m. on Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. And now the Eastern Naval Command of the Nigerian Navy says the Navy saved the nation of 95 billion naira through the operations of the command between April 2023 and February 2024. This was disclosed in Calabar by Rear Admiral Olushola Oluwagbere during a parade to mark the end of his tour of duty as the flag officer commanding Eastern Naval Command. Following last year's ultimatum by President Bola Tinubu to the service chiefs and heads of security and intelligence agencies to crush perpetrators of oil theft, there's been an increased onslaught on oil theft in the country. In January, the Nigerian Army said it destroyed 233 illegal refineries in the Niger Delta region and arrested 112 suspected oil thieves in 2023. The Nigeria Customs Service Kano Area Command says it has intercepted 4 trucks of food items as part of efforts to tackle smuggling. This is contained in a statement by the spokesman of the service, Saidu Nuruddin, in Kano. He said that personnel of the service intercepted the vehicles transporting a significant quantity of food items intended for illegal export along the Hadejia-Taurari-Jim axis in Jigawa. The items, which include 1,505 cartons of big and small-sized dried fish, 17 bags of local variety rice, and 2 bags of beans. Nuruddin urged members of the public to provide credible information to enable it to stem smuggling. Meanwhile, residents of the command area in the Alimosho local government area of Lagos State have been advised to use alternative routes to the respective destinations due to the early morning rain that caused floods on major roads. The downpour, which started around 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. in some areas and spread across the state, lasted till a few minutes before 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Residents of the command area were also cautioned against using the command bridge because it has been submerged by the flood. The Lagos coordinator of the National Emergency Management Authority, Ibrahim Fariloye, stated this in a statement issued Tuesday morning. He also noted that joint teams for NEMA, the fire service and the police are actively engaged in rescuing trapped individuals from the affected area. The police in Kaduna have arrested 4 suspects for alleged armed robbery in the state. The spokesman of the command, ASP Mansur Hassan, stated that the suspects allegedly terrorized some communities in the state. He said the suspects allegedly robbed innocent citizens of motorcycles and other valuables along Adogwarun in Mahuta community in the Igabi local government area of the state. Hassan said the police recovered 5 vehicle number plates, spare parts and new SIM cards from the suspects. The command recorded a significant feat as a sequel to proactive measures adopted by the Commissioner of Police, Audu Ali. Now, the Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Police Force, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, has issued a warning against the illegal manufacture, storage, sale and use of police and other security agency uniforms and kits. The FPRO stated this in a tweet on his X account on Tuesday. Adejobi noted that the misuse of these items can lead to pain and sorrow for citizens and contribute to a weaker security situation. He also highlighted the need for movie producers and the entertainment industry to seek official approval before using police uniforms in their productions. And now the Nasarawa State Police Command has arrested no fewer than 109 suspected illegal miners operating in the Nasarawa-Egon local government area of the state. Speaking while parading the suspects at the police area command in Lafia, the state capital, on Tuesday, the State Commissioner of Police, Umar Nadada, said the suspects were arrested following painstaking efforts by officers of the anti-kidnapping unit of the command in collaboration with the vigilante group of Nasarawa-Egon local government area. He explained that the operation commenced from Mada Station to Wakama community around the Alogani mountain stretch, which kidnappers use as a hideout to keep their victims until a ransom is paid. Nadada further narrated that the 109 suspects were arrested at different locations on the mountain carrying out illegal mining of solid minerals such as topaz, tin and aquamarine, adding that a Dane gun, cutlasses and knives illegally mined solid minerals among other items were recovered from the suspects as an exhibit. You're watching Global TV AM News, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on our social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When the AM News returns, Naira volatility continues as intraday high reaches 1,712 Naira. The news continues shortly with details of this and more stories right after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. If you've just joined us, this is Global Television bringing you live broadcast of the AM News. Many residents of Lagos communities were left stranded as a result of flood following the downpour that left many houses submerged in the Alimosho local government area of the state. The rain, which started around 6 a.m. on Tuesday in most parts of the metropolis, took over streets and bridges, hindering vehicular movement. The most affected communities include Agbulegba, Command, Agege, and Egbeda areas of Lagos. Meanwhile, emergency responders from both the state and federal government agencies were on ground to rescue the trapped victims. Members of the major energy marketers of Nigeria says it will be illegal to negotiate and fix the cost of lifting fuel with members of the National Association of Transport Owners. The NATO President Yusuf Othman had in a letter to truck drivers who are members of other unions and associations said NATO had made several efforts to secure negotiations for appropriate and commensurate freight rates for its operations from all authorities concerned in the industry, especially the major marketers, without any positive result. However, the major marketers said the decision of NATO to stop transporting fuel may not have much effect on its members, some of whom now have separate transporters. On the foreign scene, the U.S. has proposed a draft resolution at the UN Security Council which calls for a temporary ceasefire in Gaza. It has also warned Israel against invading the overcrowded city of Rafah. The U.S. has previously avoided the word ceasefire during UN votes on the war, but President Joe Biden has made similar comments. However, the U.S. plans to veto another draft resolution from Algeria, which calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. More than 1 million displaced Palestinians, who represent about half of Gaza's population, are crammed into Rafah after being forced to seek shelter there. Polish farmers are staging protests against cheap Ukrainian grain, flooding the markets and EU regulations on pesticide and fertilizer usage. Tractors flying Polish flags blocked motorways and major junctions in almost 2,000 locations. Organizers say blockades are also taking place at several border crossings with Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the protests demonstrated a daily erosion of solidarity with Ukraine. He said the projects were about politics, not grain, because only 5% of the agricultural exports pass through the Polish border. Now, as the war in Gaza Strip enters over 4 months of fighting, the Palestinian government has called on the United States of America to end the war by closing the lethal U.S. weapons and ammunition tap supply and remove the political shield enjoyed by the Israelis in the United Nations Security Council. The Palestinian ambassador to Nigeria, Abdullah Abu Aisha-Wesh, made this remark during a press conference in Abuja. Global Television correspondent Anthony Mamodu tells us more. We'll bring you that detail in our subsequent report. Russian President Vladimir Putin has given North Korean leader Kim Jong-un a luxury Russian-made car. Pyongyang state media said the limousine was delivered to Kim's top aides on Sunday. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov later confirmed the gift, saying it was an Urus, a full-size luxury sedan of the type used by Putin himself. The two internationally isolated countries have forged close relations since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. North Korea is thought to be supplying Russia with artillery, rockets, and ballistic missiles for the war, despite international sanctions on both countries. Both sides deny breaching sanctions. Now let's take a quick look at business. The National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, has advocated for the incorporation of artificial intelligence, AI, into Nigeria's security framework to improve the outcomes. The Director General of the agency, Kashifu Inuwa, issued this call during a meeting with the Commandant of the National Institute for Security Studies, NISS, Adeleke, who was represented by the Deputy Commandant, D.E. Egbeji. A statement from the agency conveyed that INUA emphasized the distinct methods employed by the security and information technology IT sectors. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPR, have given assurance that all imported fuels had undergone comprehensive quality recertification. Ayo Cardoso, Coordinator Southwest Region of NMDPRA, gave the assurance in Lagos. He reacted to claims by some Lagos residents that petrol currently being dispensed in some filling stations burns faster than usual. The NMDPRA coordinator said all imported fuels undergo comprehensive quality recertification and must be within acceptable limits in line with SUN and NIS certifications before the vessels are allowed to discharge into various depots. The removal of fuel subsidy that has ultimately led to the astronomical increase in price of premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, by President Bola Tinubu's administration has since May 29, 2023 triggered a chain of reactions, causing a spike in transportation costs and contributing to inflation. Edikan Michael samples reactions of Nigerians following 8 months after fuel subsidy removal.
Now in its 9th month, President Tinubu's administration has seen an increase in prices of goods and services, a development that has drastically affected the purchasing power of citizens. According to some Nigerians, the burden of increased fuel price, in particular, has affected low-income individuals and families, effectively worsening income inequality. This has left most Nigerians no better option other than to spend a sizable portion of their income on fuel and basic necessities.
We are pleading for the government to reverse it back, because if you see the situations of this country now, is very hard for the citizen. Even to feed 3 square meters is very difficult for the citizen. But if you look at the queue now, see, even upon all those subsidy removal, queue is still there. But if they reverse it back, it can bring something down, like all those prices can bring the price down, price of the commodity. If you go to the market now, the thing you buy today, tomorrow will add 100 naira, 200 naira upon all those the subsidy removal. We thought that the removal of the subsidy will bring the benefit to the citizen.
The impact of subsidy that they say they have finally removed is really not really helping Nigerians. Things are getting more difficult. The masses are hungry. And you know, when the hungry man is an angry man, it's just that Nigeria is a country that we always be patient, we believe in God. But man, federal government, state government, and the local government, they should look into it and please bring back subsidy to the nation and let's help Nigeria.
I'm a transport business. Since the subsidy has been removed, things hard, and the fuel is too cost, so people cannot afford to pay the transport. Things hard.
The subsidy removal, it has taken a place. Initially, if I ask of my opinion, I wouldn't have supported, because the government would have put things in order first before remove. Look at, for instance, when the airport has issue that they want to renovate airport, you know, the first thing government do, they put the Kaduna airport in order, put security on the road to put things in order before they started renovating. Then they have making alternative. But government does not have alternative in, they know that this thing will affect the poor people. They do not put things in order, they just removed it. But the mistake, maybe if it is a mistake, it has been done already. But what I'm seeing the government should do now is that rice is a common food for Nigerians. If they can divert that money to rice, then fine. When rice is cheap, other things will be cheap. And transportation too. At least if a government can introduce bus, like the way I referred this in the past administration during Obasanjo, he introduced buses which is 15 naira, taking people to working place, and at least it reduced suffer of people. But this government, you have removed a fuel subsidy getting to a year now, nothing has been questioned.
Transport, they should subsidize transport. It will be more easy for you to move from point A to point B. That in terms of subsidizing the transport, then food if the farmer can go back to the farm by giving them security, then the pressure will be down.
The removal of the first subsidy in the country is a complex decision by government with a lot of implications. However, while according to the government, they are saying that it can actually lead to the positive outcomes such as improved fiscal health, increase in revenue generations, and environmental benefits. However, it also poses challenges in terms of inflation, social unrest, and the potential negative of low-income individuals in the country. They are calling on government that if need be to bring back subsidy, then it must be considered because cost of living has been on the high side for about 8 months of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. Edike Michael reporting for Global TV News.
The Naira continued its downward trend against the United States dollar at the official and parallel foreign exchange markets, much to the despair of citizens. This was as the parallel segment of the foreign exchange market recorded a new all-time low for the Naira, which depreciated to 1,730 Naira per dollar. It was learned that the development-led operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to raid some Bureau de Change operators outlets in Abuja, arresting currency traders suspected to be speculating against the Naira. This represents 60 Naira or 3.59% drop from 1,670 Naira per dollar recorded at the close of trade at the black market. Now in sports, Arsenal captain Martin Odegaard said he's confident that the Gunners can win the Champions League and Premier League titles. The 5-0 win at Burnley meant the Gunners have kicked off a calendar year with 5 straight league wins for the first time in their history. Arteta's second-place side are 2 points behind leaders Liverpool and now turn their attention to European action. Arsenal have won 5 on the trot and scored 21 in the process, having followed up last weekend's 6-0 win at West Ham with a 5-star performance at Burnley. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has reached an agreement in principle for the 2025 Cup of Nations to be played in July and August next year in Morocco. Earlier this month, CAF President Patrice Motsepe refused to confirm the dates of the next Africa Cup of Nations with organizers left with little time to stage a qualifying competition were it to be held in January and February. However, playing it in June and July next year would mean a clash with FIFA's expanded Club World Cup, which is due to take place in North America. And that's it on Global TV AM News. And it came to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching. See you again.
same daily emotional state as our successful...
you everyone for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at the papers for you. All right, we're just going to take a quick break now so we can bring you the paper review here on the program. Let's begin with our first paper this morning is Blueprint. We're looking at the Blueprints newspaper from above the name mast. It says, the CBN teams up with NSA to hunt down foreign exchange speculators. We understand the EFCC also has its own 37-man panel or committee, or task force if you like, but the name is not as important as the responsibility with which they've now been saddled, which is to hunt down as well. For a currency speculator, we understand that they have been to a couple of places, particularly in Lagos and Abuja, to burst those who are exploiting the situation around foreign exchange right now to do business. Okay, and then when you look further, it says Niger invites labor leaders for dialogue to avert strike, with a picture of Niger State Governor there. What's more, in sports, Algeria FA decides on Super Eagles gaffer Pissarro this week. Senate to probe Buhari others over 30 trillion naira ways and means. If you follow the news, particularly in 2022, and then as we headed into the general election of 2023, ways and means became a very big conversation, particularly as it had to do with the economy and all of the issues around social development. But this headline here has two riders with it. alleged facility recklessly spent cause of food security crisis. And then losers in 2023 elections behind nation's economic woes. That's the Shettima. Again, we go back to the blame game. We'll unlock trillions in public wealth to boost economy. Tinubu, how soon will that unlocking happen? Cement manufacturers using unstable forex to inflict hardship on Nigerians. That's according to the federal government. And then let's look down at the foots of today's Blueprint newspaper. Bandits kill 8 civilians in Zamfara. That's quite some sad story. Women in Tinubu campaign beg for inclusion in government. NATO directs members to resume lifting of petroleum products. That came through yesterday. NATO now has suspended its strike. We saw a Minister of Petroleum Resources, Oil, talking about Heineken and Lokbobiri yesterday, alongside the leadership of NATO, making that announcement. So that's in the bag now. That's what it means. But then we have other papers to look at. The next is the Leadership newspaper. Okay, for the Leadership newspaper, just on top of it, we have bandits kill 14 and abduct 17 in Katsina, Zamfara. Fixing gas supply issues will boost industrialization. That is credited to Elumelu. And then we have Mogalu to give keynotes at leadership conference and awards. Kano return, police warn APC, NNPP supporters against violence. And then we have the big story there, says hardship. Presidency blames economic saboteurs for food crisis. And the riders, as customs moves to crash prices with seized items, to sell bag of rice for 20,000 naira, intercepts 4 trucks intended for illegal exports. Then we have State Police Bill passes second reading. You find that on page 9 of the Leadership newspaper. And then FG begins audit of 22.7 trillion naira CBN Ways and Means loan. Naira firms to 1,551.24 grains, 22.9% as official window. And then finally on the Leadership newspaper, Kebbi records 25 suspected polio virus. I think that's all for the Leadership. The next paper would be The Nation. The Nation newspaper, a big story right in front of it. On the Nation newspaper, Shettima, we will battle forces bent on subverting country. Above that, just right above it, says truck owners resume petrol loading. And that's on page 28. 3 Edo APC aspirants petition NWC. Along that line, we understand the APC is now saying that the primaries that was conducted a few days ago in those states with regards to the election, the governorship election, that is scheduled for 21st of September, is inconclusive. So let's see what the leadership of the APC does going forward. Office of the National Security Advisor, CBN, NFIU go after saboteurs undermining Naira. Okay, at the foot of today's Nation newspaper, 60,000 metric tons of grains coming to bring down feed prices, says Minister on page 3. All right, you need to look at that from, on the front page of today's Nation newspaper. Let's go above the nameplate quickly. Ayedatiwa, Duke, Fayemi, Otudeko, others honor Akeredolu. House of Reps pushes on with state police bill. Lawmakers in, let's see, hot debate. State police debate has never been this intensive, quite frankly, but modalities are being put in place to ensure that it is not exploited, particularly by the state's governors, including setting parameters for how the commissioners that will be appointed as well by the governors can be sacked. Lagos begins process to move Computer Village. Tinubu directs payments of State House electricity bill. We understand the State House, that is the villa or the as it were, the address of the presidency or the president, as well as several MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies, owe over 40 billion naira to the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company. That's quite a lot of money, but let's see how soon these issues are resolved as well. But I'm interested in the plan now by Lagos to move Computer Village. I mean, the process has started, we understand, Queen. I mean, I've been there a few times, and once I saw this story during the week, in my head, I'm thinking, I mean, how much of work does the Lagos State government need to do in moving this very iconic market, as I'd like to call it? Because, I mean, it's the one-stop point for everything that has to do with electronics, particularly gadgets and their accessories, you know, and things like that. You trust Lagos government enough to be able to pull this off and won't have any drama, no incidences?
I hope there are no dramas.
Have you ever been to
the
Computer Village?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
But I feel like it's going to involve a lot of drama. Already, people are saying this is just a way of punishing the Igbos. You know,
so we've gone that route again.
We've gone that route again. And people are saying they want the Igbos to now go and, you know, develop the new place where they'll be moved. I can't remember the name of the place now, but Computer Village will be moved to another different place entirely. And the people are saying, reactions from people are saying that, oh, this is another way to punish the Igbos, this is another way to...
But it's not an Igbo market per se.
But it's predominantly...
so we're saying
Igbos are predominant.
If the predominant people there were not Igbos, the government probably won't think
no,
about
this is not me saying this,
no,
but
we're just
from
trying
the reactions
yeah, exactly,
people.
to those who
but
are reacting.
I know that the government have the best interest of the people
of
Lagosians, is particularly at heart. So whatever actions they're taking, I know it's for the best and also to make Lagos better. But people are taking it, you know, the other way around. People are saying that, oh, this is another way to, you know, the Igbos have been here for this long. And you know that this market has been in existence for quite a very long time, and it's the hub for gadgets, hub for electronics, hub for your one-stop shop for everything gadgets and all that. And then knowing that the prices, you know, some of these places, the things there are fairly used as well, so you can get them for really fair prices. And so moving it now, I really don't know how marketers or people who have owned shops there for years, and you know, most of these shops are bought. So you pay for these shops, or you pay for a particular, you know, you just buy these shops for a lifetime. And what happens to those people who
have made such
investments in these shops?
Because they didn't see this coming.
They didn't see this coming. So what now happens? Do they now have, are they going to be compensated? There are a lot of considerations to be put into place. And I hope that the government is able to pull this and pull it out well. Okay,
let's hope government is able to pull it off I mean, quite elegantly, because it's quite a number of work. I mean, much of work there. Above the Punch newspaper now, I'm sure that's where we are. Yes, the Punch newspaper. All right, it has a big story as well. It says Senate to probe Buhari government Emefiele over 30 trillion naira CBN loans. It's got two riders coming with it. Senate links feed security crisis to reckless ways and means loans under Buhari cabinet. Panel to investigate CBN's 10 trillion naira anchor borrowers scheme, $2.4 billion forex fraud, others. And then underneath it, motorists lament poor drainage as flood submerges Lagos roads. FG seeks $10 billion to stabilize exchange rates as naira tumbles. Zookeeper killed while trying to rescue woman from lion. That's according to Nasu Chair. This story actually broke yesterday, and it's quite a sad one, particularly when you look at it from the standpoint of the fact that this is a man who was trying to help someone else, help a woman whose life was in evident danger, but now he pays the ultimate price for it.
Now you begin to wonder how, I mean, I've not read into that story, but how did this woman get to that point where she was almost going to be
attacked by a
lion. How now we want to look at how Nigerian zoos what
the safety
measures, how is it designed, you know, at what point can a lion, you know,
what kind of caution, signs, precautionary measures are in place?
So it's just sad that the zookeeper had to lose his life trying to save the woman, and I hope the woman survived.
So that is we know what he paid the price for whatever it's worth.
And not having to lose both of them. But then I think caution should be taken, and then measures should be put in place. We should have a clear-cut demarcation from, you know, where the animals are and where people should be. We should have signs and designated, for example, key signs like do not trespass, do not come close, you know, just measures to be put. And then how strong? It could possibly be that the cages are rusted and even broken. It could be that, you know, something must have happened, something must have transpired, because obviously these animals are caged. Something was not right. So maintenance culture as well. It's one thing to have these animals and have them caged and all that. And it's another thing to ensure that are the locks wearing out? Are there places, loopholes? Are the irons tearing off or breaking out? You know, is there anything, you know, that can... So we should look into that just to ensure that lives and properties, lives particularly, is safe.
Oyebanji hails Punch solid journalistic excellence at 50. That's great. State police, governors to appoint police commissioners, bill list conditions for CP sacking. And the writer reads, CPs can't be removed without PSC Assembly's approval. I think that sounds good. That's a guardrail that's already been put in place. But as it turns out now, the conversation around state police has been a long, long time coming. But from what we have seen and what we now know, it will appear this is the first time we're having a sincere conversation where we're now consulting and reaching out and expanding the conversation, you know, around the need for state police. You know, before now, the argument for most people was if you have state police in place, the governors will take undue advantage of it, especially around the election cycles and stuff like that. But now we realize that lives come first. Whether or not governors will take undue advantage of it is a conversation we can always have. Besides, I think it's a good thing now that those who are putting this piece of legislation together are also saying ultimately it's going to be such that the governor cannot unilaterally remove a commissioner of police, I mean, with regards to the state police. It will be with the nod, that is the approval of the PSC, that is the Police Service Commission, as well as the National Assembly for the governor to be able to do that. And that's a good place to start from. We can make all the mistakes, but if our hearts are pure, if we are sincere about the process, it's only a matter of time. We'll definitely we'll get it right. Queen Agaba, thank you for joining to look at the paper quickly. Queen will be back here with me at the twilight of the show this morning. In the meantime, we'll be joined by our guests shortly, right after this break. Do stay with us, everyone. appreciate you joining us. We have two big conversations in front of us. First, we're going to look at one that has a national outlook, which has to do with the current state of the Naira, particularly when you look at it against the United States dollar. We understand that it has continually gotten weakened against the greenback, as it's called. And today, when you look at the parallel markets, I mean the exchange rate of the parallel market, which is the autonomous black market, as they call it, and then you look at what you have at the official rate. I mean, it's embarrassing for a country like Nigeria. Some persons have said, well, we're probably not doing enough. Others are arguing, saying we need to produce more. We need to find creative ways to export locally made goods so we can earn more in dollar. Others are saying, well, if Nigeria ever had to, move away from oil-dependent economy, this is the best time to do that. And one readily available alternative that comes to mind, it will appear, is agriculture. But then we have not been able to get our act together just now to be able to find out what exactly can we do by way of being smart as a nation to make the most of agriculture. Because when you hear what some nations, not as big as some states in Nigeria, realize from just one product, one agricultural product, all right, you're alarmed and you're wondering, what are we doing about value chain with regards to agriculture? Are we investing smart in agriculture? Do we have the right tools, the right implements? What's the place of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture? What's the place of Ministry of Agriculture across the subnationals? All right, are we creative? Is there so much of, if you like, collaboration, synergy between the public and the private sectors? Are we leveraging PPP, public-private partnership, as an element in terms of driving the narrative around agriculture? But then it circles back to where we are today, how that the, if you like, for want of better words, relationship between the US dollar and the Naira is now becoming more of a problem, all right, for an already distressed economy. That's one conversation we want to have. We also want to look at the ongoing, if you like, the development in those states with regards to the gubernatorial election now scheduled by INEC for 21st of September. We see a lot of gladiators now throwing their hearts in the ring, whether it's the Labour Party, the People's Democratic Party, the APC, and a couple of other parties there. We're seeing all of the back and forth between the aspirants and all of those who have vested interests. In particular, as it stands today, the biggest conversation with regards to the issues unfolding regarding the scheduled election in that state is probably the primaries conducted by the All Progressives Congress, that is the APC. Perhaps nothing has been more controversial as far as this forthcoming election is concerned. But then we have also seen stakeholders, we've seen critical voices within and outside of the APC now reacting to the aftermath of that primary election conducted just a matter of days ago. We've seen at some points about 3 different aspirants claiming that they had actually been chosen to fly the flag of the party going into the election proper. Where exactly are we today? Because we understand the NWC of the APC is now saying that primary election conducted a matter of days ago is now inconclusive. What does that even mean within this context? We'll find out from our guest this morning. Incidentally, I'm joined by Aruna Brimo. He is a socio-economic commentator. He is also in the media team of the United Nations Institute for International Peace Commission, I should say, IPC. So he's a man of many parts, I should mention as well. So Brimo, it's always interesting to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. Always my pleasure to be here.
Great. So we're going to start from issues that every Nigerian is interested in right now, which is, I mean, ordinarily, Nigerians really don't care about dollar. But now that we are talking about how dollar affects their everyday life, it has become important that we'll talk about that. Why do we continue to have this further slide? One would have thought by now we would have been able to halt the slide. Where are we and why are we here?
Okay, point of let me deconstruct some narrative here. The Nigeria economy has always been about dollar since the 80s. The dollarization or weakening of the Nigeria currency in the Naira started with the advent of a structural adjustment program, SAP, in 1986 by the then military junta of President Ibrahim Babangida. So since then, the economy has always been about dollars. And we've had a lot of manipulations. The process of exchange rate was criminalized because the structural adjustment program created a two-way entry into the management of Forex, where you now have the autonomous foreign exchange market and you now have the black market. So black market now became a pseudo-legal business created by the then military administration and hijacked by some Nigerians who over the years feasted on it, and they hijacked the process from the government itself. And we'll be snow diving, and the banks have been colluding. I'm on air. We need to tell ourselves the truth. If actually we want to leave this quagmire that we are facing at the moment. In 1996, between 1996 and 95, 96, 97, there were some major activities done during the General Sani Abacha administration, where some banks were even suspended. Today, the owners of those banks, they came back, rebounded and rebranded, and now the role models driving the corporate world of this economy. They were suspended for many months for forex fraud, for dollar round tripping, which has been going on for years. And it has been like that until Soludo came in during the Obasanjo administration and said there's need for recapitalization and the forex management need to be liberalized. So the liberalization was taking different tone in different ways. We now had the Dutch offshore system, where you now have to appoint some banks as major holders of the dollars, or in turn give to other smaller banks, to those to satisfy the dollar needs of the corporate business, Nigerians and co. And over the years, those processes were abused. We resorted to the wholesale Dutch offshore, the WDAF. We resorted to the retail Dutch offshore. All are failed because there was no sincerity of purpose. So it has been a collusion of fraud, collusion of corruption, and non-patriotism on the part of the handlers or management of the forex. And an economy that is dependent on the dollar to survive, definitely at this point in time, where we now have, there's no longer shock absorber to cover up the fraud that has been going on. Imagine almost a 40 years old fraud being done on the country. And today the manifestation is ripe and is rife in our face and is busting in our face. We now have a government that is now trying to say, okay, let's actually let the dollar face its own. Let's liberalize it. And liberalizing it, allow the dollar to float with the naira in an economy that is dependent on the same dollar. The naira cannot battle on its own. We now have a speculation. Speculative mechanism is actually driving it crazy right now because everybody is now realizing, even those that does not need dollar, now realizing that it's all about dollar and making quick cash from it and creating a galloping and skyrocketing inflation that spirals almost like 100% within days, you know. So it's unfortunate, but we should know where we are coming from. And going forward, the government is trying its best to manage a crisis. For me, there are two ways to this crisis. Building an economy that is self-reliance, that is a little bit deviated from reliance on the foreign currency called dollar. How do you do that? By concentrating our energy in revamping those importable or things that we can import that can be produced in Nigeria here. Imported goods that we don't need to import. We have the capacity to produce. What are some of those things? What do you need dollar for? To import toothpicks, to import spaghetti, to import pastas and other things that we are producing cocoa in Nigeria and we are importing Bovita and Ovaltine. You understand? We are producing crude oil, we are importing fuels, we import technology, a whole lot, you know. So the government has to work in that aspect to be able to sit back. But to do that again, you have a generation of citizens who are impatient. Because
is it their fault that they're impatient?
I'm not faulting them. I'm just trying to tell you the reality. You understand? I'm trying to tell you the reality. We are between the devil and the deep blue sea right now. We are at economic cliffhanger. So it's like we don't have any choice. If you protest today, I'm not against protest. You vent your anger, you cause anything, we return back. We've had this over the time. We cannot continue to postpone evil days until we all agreed that as a nation, this is how to drive it. And driving the Nigerian economy is not the sole responsibility of the federal government. Because the Nigerian economy, the Nigerian system, the Nigerian state is stratified along three. It's a federal state. Each component has its own constitutional responsibility to drive its own economy.
In principle, but in practice, that's not the case.
That is what it is. What is in practice? Has any state been denied of the allocation?
We're saying that we're not seeing the impacts being made by
because
states
the citizenry does not know
and the local government.
The citizenry does not really know what is social contract. A citizen that cannot confront, that cannot question the activities of his state house of assembly, cannot question the activities of his local government chairman, to perform his responsibility first, but think that the responsibility of the local government chairman should be done by the president of the federation or should be done by a governor. You now have a system where the other tiers of government is practically excused from the system. You don't give me 47% of allocation what belongs to Nigeria, and you expect me to give you 100%. The macroeconomic indices in Nigeria is regulated by the federal government. It's the full responsibility of the federal government of Nigeria. Macroeconomics. But you cannot have macro without micro, which is the unit, which is the firm, which is the household economy, which is the rural economy, whose responsibility is to manage and drive or stratify the rural economy. The state and the local government, what has been their blueprint, economic blueprint? Across the 18 local governments in my state, what is the economic blueprint of the state and local government handlers? That we want to drive the rural, when you curb the challenges in the rural economy, definitely you are curbing urbanization problem. The rural-urban drift will reduce. The pressure in the cities will reduce. Provide social amenities for them. Basic amenities that will crystallize into economic well-being for them. What would the person, if you have a relatively good job in the rural area, you have a regular source of income, access to social services and amenities. What are you going to be doing in the cities? But everybody is rushing to the city, putting pressure, causing all sorts of... Everybody is hustling in the city right now. We are leaving the rural economy to die. And when the rural economy dies, what are you going to aggregate? Macroeconomy is about aggregate demand and supply. So we must go back to the foundation. I don't want anybody... Because it's not even in principle, it's not in practice anywhere, that in a federation, the citizenry of that federation will believe that the solution is up to down. Federation, in a federalism, the solution is down to up. The federal government of Nigeria today is a tenant in Abuja. There's nothing like federal government apart from the presidency you are looking at. Their own is just to galvanize every other, the component, all the component states. But every 36 states, the governors of every 36 states, they are the legitimate CEOs of those states. By constitution. For example, we talk of agriculture.
Yes.
You were talking of agriculture just now. In Nigeria today, there is hardly 2 or 3 states that have agricultural blueprints. That is rural driven. We are even talking of smart agriculture. Have you talked about subsistence farming? You've not talked about food sufficiency. You are talking about food security. How many people in Nigeria today, in our rural community, goes to farm or wants to go to farm to even do contest farming, to till the soil? You have to, everything goes in grade. You talk of contest farming before you talk of mechanization, before you talk of commercializing it, before you now talk of agricultural value chains, where you now have huge investments. Meanwhile, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria stratified everything. The power that the President of Nigeria has as far as agriculture policy is concerned, creation and driving, is equal to the power that every state governor has in Nigeria. It's equal to the power that every local government chairman has to provide agricultural incentives and a direction for their local government and states. So you don't need Abuja. You don't need the president to approve any of your policy for your people to drive agriculture program. The same power you have in education. You don't need the president of Nigeria to approve your education program for your states. That means you can make or mark the progress of agriculture, provision of social services, education, etc., etc. But what is the agricultural blueprint? I know the support that the federal government of Nigeria has given to my state, Edo State, as far as agriculture is concerned.
Edo State has a blueprint for agriculture.
What is the blueprint? For 8 years, let the Obaseki-led administration tell Edo people, this is the blueprint, this is what it has been able to manifesto. Because we know how the support. In West Africa, Edo was chosen as the state, as the hub for palm oil production. In West Africa. And the federal government created a 36 billion naira window investment. And the check was presented by Emefiele in a ceremony in Edo State many years ago. What is the outcome? 3.9 billion was given to him for cassava, to support cassava farmers in Edo State. Did the farmers have 1 naira? Let him show us what is the outcome. 2.5 billion of anchor borrower scheme was given to him for rice production. Edo State was among the 40 states choosing that had the capacity to farm rice in Nigeria. Today, you are buying a bag of rice, 55,000 naira in Kano, that produces their rice. You are buying the same a bag of rice when it's not transported to Edo State at 75,000, 70,000 naira. You now begin to wail in Edo State. Edo State has become an local importer of food across states. On SME, what is the blueprint to drive the rural SMEs? Notional SMEs, even SMEs that are not registered, peasant traders. Yet the federal government gave you 2 billion through the Bank of Industry to support the SME in Edo State. It should show us how many people have collected it, what have they been able to use it to do. You created the Sobe farm in Onwa local government. Federal government invested billions into it. What of the ledger? I'm just trying to use my state as an example now. Look at this money and the monies I'm mentioning, which is verifiable. Talking of social infrastructure, the minister, through the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, the whole of Esa land is 5 local government. They don't have access to basic pipe-borne water. The Ewoemi water project was installed and done. The former minister, the then Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, handed over to Obaseki for reticulation. Just reticulate it. The project is be completed, handed over to you. It's now your responsibility as a state governor. This is a project you're supposed to do. We have the Edo State Oba Water Board. Are they working? How many houses in Edo State? Today we have 35.4% multidimensional poverty level in Edo State. Out of 3.9 million population, more than 1.4 or 1.5 are in abject poverty. We are not even talking of rural poverty and unemployment that account for 54%. Our states are among the highest debtor states. When Oshomole was handing over, it was 79 billion in debt. Today we have 223 billion in debt. And this is a governor that has received more than 4 to 5 trillion in budgetary allocation, budget that he presented, summit from 2016 to date.
When you present budget, it's just a proposal.
Of course. Yes. What of the actual? This is the same state that
there's always a fundamental variance between what you're budgeting.
We have always had it because most of your projects, there are capital funds apart from your federal allocation. For instance, the lowest money, the lowest federal allocation your state, my state, Edo State has collected so far in a month, 7.30 billion since subsidy removal. What has been the impact? The same subsidy removal, we collected 5 billion to cushion the effect. They don't have their own. The state governors they are just there to collect and blackmail the same federal government. So no matter the effort of the federal government to tame, because I just told you before, their own is macro to aggregate, but there will be nothing for them to aggregate. No matter how the CBN, through the monetary framework of the CBN, churn out policies, no matter how the federal government, through fiscal policy, churn out policies, it seems not to trickle down. But constitutionally and fundamentally, it cannot trickle down without carrying the governors along. They have the constitutional responsibility. If the federal government have an agricultural blueprint, for example, in 2004, 2005, we had a National Economic Empowerment and Development Strategy, NEEDS, proposed by the federal government. An Obasanjo head meeting with all the governors and said, let us domesticate these national policies across states. At the state level, you now have state economic empowerment and development strategies, SEEDS. At the local government level, you now have local government economic development and empowerment and development strategies, LEADS. So you now become like policy synchronization.
Top to bottom.
Exactly. Since you guys cannot do bottom to top, did they welcome it? Now we talk of epileptic power supply, a critical infrastructure. We were blaming the federal government because states cannot generate power because the federal government concentrates the powers of approval of power generation and distribution at their own level. What has now happened? Before President Buhari left, he sent an executive bill, which he signed, and Tinubu went further to stratify it that anybody can invest. Now state governors have been told you can generate and sell power in your state. In the 8 years of my own state governor, he said that he brought a Osiomo power plant. Osiomo power plant completed, but cannot give a single wattage of electricity to any household in Edo State.
But we understand there are parts of the state where they are enjoying Osiomo, apart from
government house.
Apart from government house and the secretariats, we understand there are areas
like
around the Jare and Sapele.
What is it? Do you understand what I'm? This is just listen to yourself.
But again, we need to be clear. It's not supposed to be a magic wand.
It's not about the magic wand.
That makes
Uyi, this is not about the magic. You said the project is completed. It has the capacity to generate and distribute, and it has had the. You have approved. You have gotten the legal. You are now free to determine how you sell your electricity. The next thing, Osiomo should recruit marketers. Do they have the capacity to distribute the electricity? Because there are people that are willing. If I have an Osiomo in my house in Benin, I will not be wailing and crying on waiting for NEPA.
BEDC.
Or BEDC. Every day, the same those citizens, they still cry to Ababa at BEDC headquarters.
To picket the office.
To picket the office.
But I want us to go back to where we're coming from.
So when you all this cumulatively kill the economy and now made the economy to rely on everything putting pressure on the currency.
Naira was floated. The Naira was floated.
Of course, because we could not, because it was being subsidized.
But now, even the government has said that move, I mean, it was wrong.
The floating of the Naira.
Floating Naira, yeah, because
let me explain something to you. Let me explain something to you. At the point the Naira was floated, there was no option that will float it then.
But did the government not realize that?
As at then. But now the government is telling you, because they save a lot. Even want to tell ourselves the truth. In the last 6 to 8 months of this administration removal of subsidy, there is no excuse to give across the 3 tiers of government. They've had bumper budgets, bumper allocation. Yes. So now they have to come back because you need to rescue this Naira. Since you don't have the will weather to drive the economy independently, you are not a production-driven economy. You see where we are going to?
I'm just curious because you see.
So they have to now rescue the Naira again. But my problem is, how long shall we continue to rescue this Naira? Are we not going to be like going to be like a vicious cycle?
I'm asking that question, Haruna, because obviously people are saying the government is not very clear about some of these things. So government is inundated, government is overwhelmed. So
which of the government is inundated?
No, we're talking at the federal level now.
Okay.
We're going to narrow down at some point where necessary. So they are saying government is overwhelmed, inundated, and therefore it is natural that a government, as we have always had in Nigeria, would have what you call the knee-jerk approach to doing things. For example, that they say was what informed the idea of saying let's float the Naira under former acting governor of the CBN, Shonobi, all right, which didn't see the light of day because it was a move people believe the government didn't think through. So most of these things now being driven or pushed by the government is also, I mean, they are also being argued to say, look, government doesn't have a think through with this, that these things are actually not policies, including the idea of removing fuel subsidy, for example, because I've spoken with some people on the inside of the APC who are saying that it was not part of the agenda of the APC to say we are removing subsidy from day one. I mean, that it was not even the idea that the president should announce it in the course of his inaugural speech. But that was a way of the APC saying, look, we got off on the wrong foot. But now it will appear the burgeoning problems associated with the removal of fuel subsidy are now too overwhelming for the APC to manage. And now we are seeing pockets of protest across the country.
Uyi, let me explain something to you. When President Tinubu took over power, notionally there was nothing like subsidy. Remember, the budget was already in operation.
Right.
Subsidy provision stopped on the 1st of June. Do you understand? And it was
the Buhari government said it was 30th of June.
Okay, 30th of June, rather.
Right.
So, practically, there was nothing like subsidy in the budgets. And it's going to work with the appropriation bill. It's going to execute the 2023 budget. Do you understand my point? That is an act.
So as of when it was taken over, subsidy had already
Of course, notionally.
So what did he mean? What did he mean when he said with intention, subsidy is gone?
Of course, letting you know, because we don't even have the capacity to sustain it further. That was why the government have to remove it. We started the whole process of subsidy is all part of the PIA, Petroleum Industry Act.
The PIA.
Yeah, PIA. That was passed. It was already removed from there. There are a lot of programs inside the PIA, including community development and different programs that were created to cushion the effect if the PIA was to be, if it was to be fully implemented today. You understand? What do you subsidize? Where do you get the money used? It's like you are using something to pay for something for somebody. And you can no longer do it. You no longer have the capacity.
So do you just cut the person off abruptly?
It's not abruptly. Have we not been talking about this? The protest of 2012 was for what?
Which the APC didn't like. Which
the APC did not
also
the
protested
APC,
against
no. The
it.
APC never protested against subsidy of 2012. They protested against the criminality because remember the Ahmed Lawan committee set up to investigate the fraud of subsidy that confirmed trillions in dollars and nairas. Those who were indicted with that committee report today, they are some of the richest people on earth.
Yeah, it's Buhari government for 8 years paid subsidy.
Excuse me, I'm coming. So when the report was presented, and the then President Goodluck Jonathan refused to implement the report, which says that these criminals that have eaten Nigeria's money should be arrested and the money recovered from them, then remove the subsidy. The next thing, he excused the report and went ahead, he jumped the gun. So the protest was about the criminality involved with the subsidy.
Because we realize, I mean, we remember.
But that is the truth.
Key APC figures at that time.
I'm not talking of even the Wole Soyinka, I'm not talking of whether key APC figures.
Yes,
but I'm telling you that the essence of the protest was for the Ahmed Lawan committee report on subsidy that discovered trillions.
Right.
That the Goodluck presidency
in subsidy fraud.
That the Goodluck presidency refused to probe or implement. The next thing, he jumped to remove the subsidy. We said no. If you know you want to remove the subsidy, we had there was an enlarged gathering. The then Minister of Finance, Okojo Iweala, was there. Oshomole was also there. He was in the opposition too. Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. Nobody that was against subsidy removal. Everybody was hampering on the need for transparency because there is a report before you as a president that has clearly indicted some major Nigerians who has fled the country of trillions. So how do you now close that report and you're not jumping the gun to subsidy removal? Are you now saying the collective patrimony of Nigeria allegedly eaten or taken by these people should be excused like that? That was equivalent to some reasonable percentage of our national budget or our federal government budget. That was the essence of the protest.
But what I remember clearly, that the APC, as a party and even key stakeholders in the APC had said at that time was, look, the government, because if you recall, this was January.
We said it should not remove it. It was January 1st.
Yes.
You don't remove the subsidy when you have not dealt with the criminality of the subsidy.
Yes, that was one argument, which is valid, no doubt about
and that. That is what we are saying.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're also saying that you can't remove subsidy because Nigerians are suffering. They can't buy fear if you remove subsidy. So overall, the APC didn't buy that, but events have overtaken all of that. But let's come back to the issue of the Naira and the dollar now. Yes. We understand the EFCC has a 37-man, some sort of enforcement team going around the BDCs now to arrest those they refer to as round trippers and currency racketeers and so on and so forth.
Yes.
The CIBN, the CBN, I mean, several agencies of the federal government are also doing the same thing. Is this just for the pages of newspapers and TV screens, or, I mean, is this far-reaching enough?
It's one of the approach you need to take at this critical time. Because right now, I just told you, we've talked about the fundamentals, the primary solutions, which is growing the economy to be production-driven. But at this level, where manipulation and speculative mechanism is being abused, there's now currency hoarding. People deliberately now buy currency and withhold it and audit, create artificial scarcity. So you need to give a solution that will first curb that aspect of it. Speculation is what is driving the naira and dollar exchange rate crazy today. That is the truth. And you remember in economics, the motive of money. Why do you hold money? For transactional motive, for precautionary motive, and for speculative motive. So the market speculation is driving the currency crazy today. And the criminals, the economic saboteurs, the economic scavengers and buccaneers, they are bent on ordering the currency. Whoever owes dollar now that is more than 10 to 20,000 will keep it deliberately, not bringing it out for those that actually need, that want to do legitimate business to have, creating scarcity. By the time you order a product or you order currency, currency is a product or the long run. By the time you order it, it becomes scarce. And when it's scarce, the market forces we are talking about, forces of demand and supply, a product that is scarce, the prices will be going up. So the federal government is coming from that angle. It's not that this is going to be the only way. The solution to our forest crisis is multifaceted across, and it's going to be gradual, except it's not continued. Across, both from state, local government, and federal government, there must be a national policy direction. National, not federal government policy. Like that of the needs I was talking about, national economic empowerment, so that we empower this economy to be self-reliant, especially in food production. We now know that what we need dollar for is for the importation of technology and other machinery needed for primary goods. Goods needed for further production. But a situation whereby you need currency to import technology, you need currency to import the basic of your food that you eat. You even need currency to wear your clothes. You need foreign currency to, you are needing dollar to practically do everything. It's going to be a long road for Nigeria. But how do we get back after designing this policy direction, national policy direction, to recover the entire economy of Nigeria? They will not need the patience of Nigeria, because you don't expect everything to crystallize overnight. It may even outlive this administration. But it's something that's supposed to have started many years ago.
Okay, I think the blame game doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. But,
No.
but let's go back to last year with regards to the same forex challenges we're dealing with now. I mean, I made reference a while ago to former acting governor of the CBN, Mr. Shonobi, who had said, I mean, after he had seen the president right there at the villa, addressing journalists, he said, given the measures that the government, I mean, the CBN under its leadership was going to take at that time, currency speculators will suffer. In fact, they will bleed. That was the word he used, but we've not seen them bleed just yet. In fact, the country is bleeding instead. That's number one. Number two is there's this deal between Afreximbank, I mean, African Export-Import Bank, and the NNPCL with regards to making some billions of dollars available to Nigeria just to also solve some of these problems we're talking about. And then, as it stands today, we understand the federal government is seeking some $10 billion as well in addition. Help us make sense of all of this, because it's getting more confusing by the day.
All right. I think on this program, we talked about the NNPC deal before. It was not like the articles of this world was made, was trying to make people see it. It's not like that. NNPC was supposed to produce, collect money in advance from the people or the bank, and then produce crude oil in future to cover it up without interest. Imagine using the prevailing market price of today to collect for future annuity. That was about the $10 billion. It was not like it's a loan. It's like somebody is paying for my product in advance. You get my point? And that deal is being worked out. It's been like almost 3 to 4 months now. Things have been worked out. These are not things that comes to reality overnight. Because the particular bank is also going to be working with the particular consumer of the crude oil who's going to buy the crude oil. You get my point? They are not the crude oil users. Apparently. You understand? So their own is to help us get some good customers who will need that crude oil in the future, and they will have a financial guarantee arrangement with that customer before they now release the money to Nigeria. But in the meantime, we cannot be waiting for that deal to crystallize, and we are facing a particular situation. We need to source for other investment. Remember, what you need dollar for. Dollar does not fall into Nigeria. Dollar is earned by Nigerian governments. You earn dollar from the export of your products. So which product do we have to export most of the time?
I think we need to answer that question. That will be right after this break. Do stay with us, everyone. Thank you, everyone. So you were talking about how that dollar doesn't fall through the cracks of the sky. You have to earn it.
Yes, you have to earn it. So the capacity for you to earn, if it's low, and you need much in dollars to import, so your balance of payment is already in deficit. Your balance of trade, what is balance of trade? The comparative analysis between what you export and what you import. Obviously, Nigeria imports more than it exports in trade volume. Go and check the records over the years. So we don't have much. That's why we are in balance of payment deficit. When you now want to pay for your trading activity, you now begin to hold. That's why you now talk about, say, CBN is owing about $15 billion in letters, in guarantee, LC, letters of credit. Because CBN guaranteed these letters of credit to importers who import these goods to Nigeria. So at a time, they also need to clear. And the same country need to save in their foreign reserve. So at some point in time, you see our foreign reserve depleted. You need to deepen in there to clear some of these things so that the people that are supplying us these goods from abroad will still have hope. You cannot hold their money for so long because you guarantee this money for those importers. But when your dollar is 10 billion and your total import, the dollar income in a month is $10 billion, and your total import in a month is $25 billion or $30 billion. You're already running at a deficit of $20 billion. That means you are importing more to your country than you are taking out of the country. So you will always have forex issues. So by the time we begin to drive a holistic policy that is not just federal government concentrated, a national policy, national economy policy, that's what I'm talking about. This is no longer about the presidency or the federal government.
What makes it so difficult to evolve that kind of policy?
Because we have state governors that they don't have the intuition, the visionary leadership intuition to key into some of these things. Just take 16 states in Nigeria to work economically and we'll jumpstart the whole economy. If 16 states in Nigeria work economically.
So what's then the place of the National Economic Council chaired by the Vice President? I mean, we've had that for years. I was privileged to meet with the former Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, twice, and I raised this issue. I was the last person among the media team that raised the issue, and Laolu was there. He created a committee, which I was part of. We presented our report, and they promised that the report was going to be submitted to the then Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Prince Clemagba, which till tomorrow they never implemented, because some of our recommendation was something like this. The Constitution has clearly said this is the role of governor in economic development of the state. This is the role of the presidency or the federal government. This is the role of the local government as far as economic development. It's an economic objective. It's in the Constitution. You understand? And we have the exclusive list, the concurrent list, and the residual list. But now, with the National Economic Council of Nigeria, how do you now drive policy synchronization that we cut across? And that was some of the approach that I think they pick from those reports, where some of the issues of agriculture, for example, where they now created an ACON borrower scheme. You now said, okay, in Nigeria today, we have 14 states who are very good in rice farming that can feed the entire country. Let us not now depend on importation of rice. And they created the ACON borrower scheme, where more than 500 to 600 billion was pumped out. And some of the state governors received this money they never implemented. But another issue is feedback mechanism. Does the federal government have the power to really deal with these states constitutionally? No. As it is today, to tell you how the Constitution empower the states to develop
their state agriculturally. No state in Nigeria that the Federal Republic of or the federal government of Nigeria has power to own a land without the state governor.
Based on the Land Use Act?
Of course. They own the land. And remember, land is a critical factor of production. You are owning land and everything you need. So you are still crying that your state is hungry. You still rely on the federal government to create a budget support fund for your budget. So we don't have thinking governors. We don't have governors that can think out of the box to rescue their states from the squalors of economic degradation. Because the Revenue Mobilization Fiscal and Allocation Commission states everything on how the revenue of Nigeria is being shared. The money is not going to federal government account. Every $1 Nigeria and go to what is called Consolidated Revenue Fund account. CROF account. And this money is not consolidated. Whether FROS, custom, it's not federal, it's not owned by federal government. They may be, you may see them as federal agency. All the income that come from FROS, custom, immigration, every revenue generating income, the money goes to Consolidated Revenue Fund account, including VAT and all, and crude oil, and whatever it is. This is where the money is warehoused. The Revenue Mobilization Fiscal Allocation Commission now states that the presidency or the federal government has also percentage of the money. The state governors have 36% to 37%. The local government have 17 or whatever percent. So at the end of the month, they have a meeting called Federation Account Committee, where the Minister of Finance will represent the federal government. The State Finance Commissioner will represent the state government. The Director of Finance from a local government, Department of Finance, will represent the local government, where this money is shared. But unfortunately, even the ones that go to the local government, in just 2023, let me just digress a little. In 2023 alone, the total money that accrued to the 18 local government in Edo State was 55.8 billion. And none of the money goes to the local government. They enter the state government. The state governors hijacked the same local government fund again. They created their own JAC account, joint account, whatever. It's called JAC. They create a joint account where the state governor now run local government. What it does is to issue administrative reimbursement, an IPRES system, where you have to reimburse the local government on their monthly administrative expenses, but they cannot undertake any capital projects.
So financially, the state government runs the local
government. So imagine what goes to the state in federal allocation and what goes to the local government, and everything is accumulatively hijacked by the state government. Yet they cannot provide economic direction to drive the rural economy. Only when the rural economy is stratified, when the firms, the small businesses are working, when the rural unemployment is tamed, you will have a robust Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Great. So my last question, just before we move on to our next discussion, do you think, because, I mean, former President Muhammadu Buhari had said when he was head of state in the 80s, the number of bureau de change outlets he had, you know, what's infinitesimal when you compare to what he saw in 2016, 2017. Now, he has left office almost a year ago. The number has jumped right through the roof. Do you think, I don't know how economically practical this is, if we cut down drastically on the number of bureau de change outlets we had in Nigeria, I mean, would that make any difference?
You know, when you are dealing with economic buccaneers, actually that is one of the biggest problems of capitalism.
Are we a capitalist country?
We are operating voodoo economic system. One step forward, two steps backward. We are confused economic system because we are not practicing socialism instead. But ironically, democracy, directly or indirectly, goes with capitalism or liberalism.
By default?
By default, of course. That is democracy for you. Because those who want to entrench their economic, to sustain their economic criminality, will use their fund and everything to finance the election of those who want to be in government. So by the time you get to the government, you do their bidding indirectly, but the masses will not know. Where Putin Buhari was, where I'm telling you, where Buhari was there, he didn't come to power under any democracy. He didn't seek the opinion of anybody, vote for me, I will do this or that. He had a clear intention. He took over power. He said, this is what we want to do, to curb an issue. There was nothing like state governors or whatever. He appointed his lieutenants in the army across the states.
As military governors.
Yes. So they don't have an House of Assembly or National Assembly or wherever. What they say makes sense immediately. So policy implementation become more faster.
No bureaucracy.
No bureaucracy. But a situation whereby you have a president, you have a different House of Assembly, you have a governor, you have this, you have that, and these people all came to power with the influence of those that have hijacked the economic system already. Every day you see the CBN raising the bar. The only way to curb them is to raise the bar, thinking that some of these Bureau de change will not meet the criteria.
And yet they meet them.
Of course, because those behind the Bureau de change, some of them have money more than states. You increase the capital base. In 2004, 2005, we capitalized the banks in Nigeria. By 2009, the banks, all of them went down. We discovered that you said 25 billion to open a bank. Most of these banks never had 25 billion, but in document, in paper, you agree that they have 25 billion. Paper capitalization. Without financial banking, some have 10 billion, you capitalize them. And those who run those banks are grand. Today, they are the chief economists, making narrative. People like Professor Pablo Tomi. People like Kolawole Abiola, the son of the late
MKO.
Yes. They are Tuches of this world, but PHB.
Atuche is already paying the price for his. I mean, he's been in prison the whole time.
Yes, there are people behind Atuche. Atuche was just a CEO of the bank. He was an employee of the bank. The Inland Bank of this world, Mohammed Sambawa, and the former governor of Bauchi State. We all know them. The list goes on and on. But today you see them on Channels Television, TVC, molding and building narratives. And unfortunately, we have a generation that does not have this basic of where we are coming from. They all run and own this Bureau de change. There's a Bureau de change I know in this Abuja that is owned by the former Senate president, or that is financed through him and his brother.
So it means...
There's a former presidential aspirant in this country in the last election in one of the parties that is so vocal. Yet the millions of dollars, whenever I need need dollars, you need to change it to Naira. You just make call to that Bureau de change organization. But he's so vocal. He was in one of the former military head of state government too.
It's interesting.
You know, we are in a serious shit. Unfortunately,
you can't use that word.
Okay, we are in a serious crisis.
I think you meant to say yes. We're in a very bad place.
Yeah, we are in a very bad place right now as a country beyond the economy, because we need to move forward. Moving forward.
But that's been the issue.
Moving forward.
Yes.
We need a paradigm shift, mental revolution. Everything we are doing right now is reactionary. This generation is pain, so they are reacting.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we can't talk about that enough, but your last narrative now just aligns with what Dele Alake, a Minister of Solid Minerals Development, has also said, that there are powerful Nigerians in the solid minerals sector. But Nigerians are tired of hearing all those. I think by now, even adolescents know that you have powerful Nigerians everywhere, oil and gas, in banking, and everywhere else.
But I just told you that these powerful Nigerians are the ones installing the government across the strata.
Again, that's the establishment as it is.
That is it.
All right, so we're just going to
So how does the generation, that's why I say mental revolution, how do we now come together to say, let us be the one appointing or electing ourselves so that we can be able to use the system to chase these powerful Nigerians? When you go to a powerful Nigeria to sponsor your election, you will not make policy that will affect a powerful Nigeria.
That's a no-brainer, obviously. But we're just going to switch gears now to our second discussion. So you talked about those states a while ago. Let's take you back home now. Let's begin with your party, because they say charity begins at home and justice from the next door. The APC conducted the primary election in the states, and we had seen back and forth at some point. Some people said the man referred to as the godfather of the party, who is the de facto leader of the party in the states, Adams Aliyu Oshomole, former two-time governor of the state, former national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, now the senator representing Edo North Central Senatorial District at the Senate, had a favorite candidate, but names were a bit hazy. And then later they said, well, he was at a crossroad as to who to support. And then going into the election, they said, well, it was Dennis Idahosa talking about the popular Denko that was throwing his weight behind. And people raised questions about that, saying that the current governor, Governor Obaseki, is from Edo South. if you bring Dennis Idahosa, who is also an Edo South man, it means you are being unfair to particularly Edo Central. Now, the APC has held primaries, and what we have seen is controversy after controversy. 3 persons laying claim to being the, as it were, bona fide candidates of that, of the party, or as an aftermath of that primary election. What exactly is happening with the APC? We're going to also use that as a basis to talk about what is happening generally with regards to the election coming up on the 21st of September. Yeah,
first of all, let me make some correction. You know, when it's convenient for us, Nigeria, we fall on an issue to placate or cover up a lot. The APC in Edo State is one family, it's one united family, and the unity of any political umbrella or political family is always threatened when there are disagreements. But the capacity to agree after disagreement makes it more formidable. And whatever is going on now across, within the party, there are internal issues that the national body and the state body, the state party executive, no doubt have the capacity to curb and address, which is ongoing. Going back to what you said about my leader, because he happened to be my senator from Edo North, and a 2-time governor, former national chairman of the party, APC, and a 2 times president of Nigeria Labour Congress, former vice president of International Labour Organization, and former secretary of Nigeria Workers Union. Now, you are reading citation like we are going to confer a PhD on him. Excuse me. I'm trying to explain something to you. Yes. Comrade Adams, I call it Bukbebu Oshomole. As N is due, you give honor to whom honor is due. And it's be democratic enough, except you just want to call a dog a bad name in order to hang it. Adams Aliyu Oshomole, as a Democrat and as a leader that has been unparalleled, especially in this Fourth Republic as far as Edo State governance is concerned, understood the need for us to rescue Edo State from the current political jackass that hold sway in Dennis Osadebe Avenue. And that need is for the APC to win the Edo election. There is nowhere in the APC, whether in Edo or national, where there was a zoning, that when this side rule, it comes to this, it comes to this. But at a point in time, you look at a political strategy for you to win. Edo South today produced the current governor, and Edo South account for more than 53% of the voting population of Edo State. We have Edo North, where Oshomole comes from, that is predominantly APC, 90%, account for about 30-something% of the voting population of Edo State. You now have Edo Central, where the governor is pushing. Because nobody talks about that. There's been a godfather. But that is their own issues. But the governor says he wants to be fair to... Excuse me, he never said he's not, but he even said he's not supporting anybody. Don't quote him wrongly. But then, I'm being very frank. But then I'm a journalist, don't forget. I'm being very frank. I don't stop reading papers headlines. Yes, the governor, this is not about papers headline. There's no fora, there's no media fora that the governor of Edo State has admitted that he's pushing Aiswa Igodalo. So let me go back to what I'm talking about. The Edo Central, which is the Esan land, account for 15%. Nobody is against anybody. We are saying the APC in Edo State have decided that for the APC to win election in Edo State, the people with the majority of votes must must let us support a popular candidate from a zone that has the majority of votes. And one of the most performing politician in Edo South today is Right Honorable Dennis Idahosa, the chairman House Committee on Earth. A man that has won his election back-to-back in the Yoruba Federal Constituency, defeated an incumbent House of Rep member, defeated her again, and retired the Benedict dynasty.
But it was not a Gbenadian dynasty that contested with him. It was Barrister Mosede Gbenadian that contested
what
with
is,
him.
what is the Gbenadian? What is different? I say, you see, you both say the see for that.
No, I mean, she was the one that ran against him.
Exactly.
Not
but the dynasty was, they
family.
are from other federal constituency. We know what is going on. You are not a politician, you are a journalist. I'm telling you what.
I mean, know a bit more.
Mosede Gbenadian is the daughter of this coin of Esama.
Incidentally, we're not here to discuss
No, it's not. I'm just trying to let you know what he's been able to do politically, why it's relevant today. And beyond that provision of good governance, why do they call him Mr. Project? In one of our political engagement across the local government, one of the local government chairman in Ishaland, APC local government chairman in Ishaland said, this is the only House of Rep member that competes in project delivery with a state governor. 168 verifiable projects and counting since 2019. 43 communities connected to renewable energy electricity, not on NEPA. We are not talking of roads. We are not talking of schools. We are not talking of youth empowerment. Orphanage. Creating justice system for the less people who cannot access justice. It didn't start today. It's not a rookie in the system. At the age of 35, he was the commissioner for public-private partnership to Oshomole. And he never collected a dime and salary when he came from Canada as the CEO of Denko Group of Companies, Ito Mining, Manufacturing, and Real Estate. He mandated that all his salaries should be given to the indigent widow in his constituency. This is about provision of good governance. We need a paradigm shift in a young man that can rescue a particular state from crisis, that has the vision, is doing it, is be doing it. So when you look at all these parameters, you now come to Edo North. With all due respect to the aspirant from Edo North, Edo North have 30-something% of the voting population. We have Prince Clemagba, who also incidentally served for 8 years as commissioner
for environment
in Edo State with Oshomole. Who also from the same senatorial district with Oshomole. Who also served with the past president as Minister of Budget and Planning. And ironically, is from the same local government with the current Minister of Niger Delta. What are you talking about? What do you mean by equity? Almost every federal appointment that comes to Edo State from the APC government is settled in Edo North. The managing director of Nigeria Railway Corporation is from where? The leader of the House of Representatives is Professor Yowori from where? Onwa, Edo North. The CMD of National Hospital is from where? Edo North. The managing director of Nigeria Benue-Wena River Basin Authority is from where? Edo North. The list goes on and on. The federal INEC commissioner that is choosing from Edo State today is from where? It's from Onwa, Edo North. You also feel other people are not, because we are not talking of, in Edo South, it's a PDP. The governor is PDP. We are talking of APC here. So if it's the decision of the PDP-led governor to bring his friend and now placate it and cover it up with the Greek narrative of I'm trying to be equitable, so be it. But remember, we are not popular. APC is not so popular in Edo Central. This is a PDP senatorial district stronghold. So do you expect the APC to go and give their ticket to put their ticket in a place where they don't have power to win election?
So it is about winning.
It's about the strategy. And then when I talk of winning, not just winning with the right person, winning with the winnable candidate, winning with the sellable product, winning with somebody with capacity, winning with a youth of 43 years old, winning with a paradigm shift, winning with Denko. It's youth o'clock in Edo State.
Okay, so I want to talk about that now because process also matters. However, which is sad in Nigeria, we say the end justifies the means, and that's very popular with politicians. But let's talk about the process now.
Yeah.
How do you explain that 3 persons are now saying they want?
I just explained to you that in every contest, remember when the whole thing started?
There was a parallel primary.
Excuse me. When the whole thing, the whole process started, or wanted to start, there was an enlarged meeting between all the aspirants. They were like 29 or 30 aspiring. The head meeting with the national body. The national body mandated the states that go and prune the numbers down. You have rights. It's your unalienable right for political association and to hire any political office. It's constitutional. But you belong to a party. If it's democracy, you must belong to the party. And when you belong to that party, or people with similar ideology that have their own constitution, you work with the rules and directive of the party. Party becomes supreme. And this directive was given, and they set up, there was a small committee headed by Professor Julius Ihoghori, the House leader of the House of Representatives, who met all of them. There was also an enlarged meeting before them to advise them, to beg them, to persuade them. That at the end of the day, only one person will be the governor of Edo State. At the end of the day, only one person will be the candidate. It's constitutional. The candidate of the APC. Let us drop our interest. But all fingers were being, there was nation is because of Oshiomhole. All of them, who has Oshiomhole not helped politically? Who has not rode or ride on the shoulders of Oshiomhole to achieve their political position today? When they were doing that, when Oshiomhole was giving them the appointment, when they were working under Oshiomhole, when they were getting leverages, becoming ministers and whatever they are today, was Oshiomhole a godfather? So Oshiomhole does not have a constitutional right. Oshiomhole did not even pronounce anything. He said, okay, let the process take its course. The Professor Julius Ihoghori committee met and screened down. They denied. They were going in the media that there was nothing like that. Something you participate, a process you participated in. Today you are not talking of a due process. A process of screening down, putting down the number that you participated in. You denied to the media. I'm on air. Some of these meetings, we know where they take place. You come out and deny to the media that there was nothing like that. It was reduced to 6, from 6 to 4. But the party said, if you still insist, it's your right. You can go and procure your forms. And some of them, about 9 or 10 of them, went to get forms.
Including Pastor Sagi Zeyamo.
Exactly. Then they now started political bickering, working against each other, aligning with, so some of the aspirants now begin to align with themselves. Some step down for this, some step down. They will step down and begin to support the particular aspirant. The other one will step down like that, which is normal. And the power of the national body, national APC headquarters, is to set up through the National Working Committee to organize a primary. And the process was put in place. And a date was chosen, which is 17th of February for elections. And everything went well. Fine, if you allege that there are some issues which they are alleging now. Remember what they wrote? The letter said there should be completion of the process if there are some parts that you said the election did not take place. Because a situation whereby you are doing a parallel primaries that is not recognized by the party. The party set up electoral committee, which includes an INEC observer. And you now go in your bedroom or in your parlor to be doing your own primaries and announcing your own results. Are using it to blackmail what the party position says. And the party is now magnanimous enough to say that, okay, let's assume, let's cancel whatever happened in your side. Let's go and redo it in your side. It doesn't mean what has been submitted does not hold. So let us now compare. If it's just so that the whole process is completed, if there are local government or there are wards that you did your own, that nobody participated in, and you are using that as a criterion to announce yourself, or as a yardstick to pronounce yourself winner, let's go and conduct a proper, let the same, because you were the one that created the division. If you had followed the process that there is one body, which is the National Working Committee constituted electoral committee, headed by His Excellency Senator Hope Uzodimma, the governor of Imo State, to conduct and pronounce and announce results. Is the chief returning officer. It's not the state executive. It's not anybody from the state party. These are not rocket science for us to know. But when there is political bribery, everybody is pursuing their selfish interest. But as I said, it's no victor, no vanquish.
Good. But again, that doesn't seem to be what it is within the party. We see division already happening, and then some people are afraid that this division will spiral. No. I'm just going to make a point and you can react to it. That this division is going to spiral into the election, as we have always had in certain cases. You have instances where the APC either couldn't field a candidate or because of internal issues, or they just shot themselves in the foot and so on and so forth. Barrister Andrew Adazai Amata is a former commissioner under Obaseki. Of course, he moved with Obaseki into the PDP. I've not spoken to him lately, whether on record or off record. But I understand he has formally resigned from your party, the APC. I've read his registration letter. He says he joined the party just a few months ago. He was excited, he was hopeful, he was optimistic. But now he doesn't see any of those three elements anymore, which is the basis upon which he has now resigned from the party. And some people, even within your party, now say that, look, a lot will happen along that line as well, which means that several other people will resign because they feel disgruntled. Talk to me how much this further divides the APC in Edo State. It's not
even about the APC. First of all, Andrew Amata is my friend, at least a distant friend. I know him, we've met. He was in Obaseki administration.
As a commissioner? As
a commissioner.
Right.
Till a few months ago. And he resigned, he cited the same reasons. He came on air, he went on Channels Television, lambasting Obaseki, exposing the misgovernance and directionlessness of governance in Edo State of his boss, of which he participated as a commissioner for information. Same person is now telling you, he started with the labor. From labor to, we don't like commenting on, those are politically consequential to the activities of APC. He was never a member of the APC, to the best of our knowledge.
But who was it? On what basis was he resigning? Did you resign from an entity you're not a member of?
No, he just, I said a few months ago. How many parties has he been to within the last few months?
But even if you came to the APC for just 1 week, does that change the fact that I was a member?
What drives Nigerians to political parties is to seek political interest, to vest whatever they want to get. And once they are not getting it, they fall out. That is the typical Nigerian politicians for you. You called me yesterday. So there are a lot of people that are also resigning in Humode, in Oriomo.
From the APC?
From the PDP, coming to the APC. Right now. Still talking of the same prices.
Horse trading.
Exactly, because you look at the 9 aspirants of the APC, of the PDP that went on Channels Television. What of the legacy group? The legacy splitter group, the original PDP, that the governor hijacked the party structure from.
The Danobi group.
The Danobi group. Those one they have their own candidate for their primary is coming up on the 22nd. Have you talked about that? What of the current deputy governor, who is threatening that he will move with all his supporters? People are insinuating that he's going to the SDP or whatever.
But the APC has as much domestic issues to deal with as the PDP
the primaries of APC just happened. There's bound to be issues arising from the primary to solve. So the mechanism, or the party mechanism, which is strong enough to sort out this, is what matters now, which the party is doing. By the time we have we complete the process in those some of those wards that the aggrieved aspirant felt there was no election, and election is connected there, and we do everything. And the next thing is to go to appeal if you have any other issue. There's an appeal process.
Let's talk about.
And then when you now wait for the PDP to conduct their primary, they will now share notes.
Let's talk about your darling candidate for a minute now. Talking about Dennis Idahosa.
Yes.
Yes. In the event that, after all said and done, it turns out to be the flag flyer of your party, the APC. What exactly will happen? Let's also paint a scenario where Aswe Ighodalo, a man with a robust portfolio, because a while ago you read out the citation of Denko. Aswe Ighodalo has a formidable background, whether it's, in the boardroom as a corporate man, or in leadership as we know it. He is one of the partners of one of Nigeria's most successful law firms in this country. Like I said, his background is intimidating and robust at the same time. Let's peg them side by side.
You don't need, there's no need, there is no room for, because you cannot, we are talking of rescuing Edo State.
So Aswe does not have the capacity to rescue Edo State?
No, you can't rescue yourself. You need to first of all rescue yourself from the process. You don't even need to be part of it. You cannot take a decision in the future you will not be part of.
So it's only there to be part of it?
Of course. Because I just call him a paradigm shift. A 43-year-old can be visionary enough to take a decision that will affect positively the life of his people in the next 20, 30 years when he's still there. That is visionary leadership. The decision that Aswe Ighodalo must have taken 30 years ago that are manifested to them made him a visionary leader 30 years ago. We're not talking of boardroom here. What has the boardroom cost Nigerians? A lot of boardroom magnates, corporate czars, they've come in the political scene and messed up the system. They are the pseudo-agent of the politicians who will house looted funds. We know all these things. Where the times are ripe, we'll bring it to bear. So there's no room for comparison. We have a tested young man who has been in the political fray. He's been there since 2012. And he's been consistent with it. He was also board of one of the agencies, is the Federal Ministry of Environment, when the President Buhari was, during the President Buhari administration. He's been there. And it's a two-term House of Rep member. To be a principal member, to chair a House Committee on Federal Ministry of Health is not a small feat. And we're talking about good governance delivery is inversely related with how many qualifications you have, how many robust portfolio you are bringing to bear.
Yeah, those qualifications have also given him basis to make a lot of difference and
no, he has given him to be marketable among the elites who want to foster to force him on the destiny of collective destiny of Edo State. I just told you now that when Oshomole was there, our debt was 79 billion. But right now, our debt, where we have an economic banker, what do you call him? What name do you call your Baseki? As he quote the same like Aisho Godalo. What does he be able to deliver? From your local government to my local government, what does it deliver? We are among the poorest, on multidimensional poverty index. South is the poorest in Nigeria. Is that not ironic? Even when you have crisis in the north. And yet, inside the South, we are among the poorest after Akwa Ibom, Edo State. We are talking of a state with a high GDP, but cannot translate GDP to harness its potential to economic development and growth. And you have a banker and economist as the governor. You cannot drive employment. He promised 200,000 employment every year annually. And this is his 8th year. You cannot revamp agriculture even after collecting billions from the federal government to support your agri program. You cannot stratify SME. Excuse me. You said I should tell you. So these are the things that we want to rescue Edo State from.
Okay.
So you cannot bring a fellow elite who is your personal friend to come and cover up your shady deeds. All the MOU that
you just said Obaseki is not supporting him a while ago. At what point did they become friends?
No, I said I'm quoting him. Don't quote. You understand? It's his personal friend. You cannot deny that fact.
But whether he's supporting him or not,
not a friend of Oshomole. It doesn't mean supporting him politically. There is no basis of comparison. You cannot compare. Of course, we're talking of an energetic young man that has a roadmap. We say rescue movement. It's a movement. It's youth o'clock. We're not talking of a 60-something years old man. With all due respect, and we'll continue to respect him.
But age also comes with a lot of experience. And,
the experience we've had with age in Nigeria is backward.
The ability
in delivering good governance, that it has been backward. How many people has age help? What are they brought?
But Brahma, I'm sure this is a conversation you and I will have time and again.
Of course.
Particularly when the APC has been able to resolve its own crisis.
Of course, it's Denko o'clock and it's youth o'clock.
I would say a big thank you to you, Aruna Brahma, for coming to share with us. Always, we appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Incidentally, everyone, this is where we're leaving the discussion this morning. Remember the views of our guests and their opinions. I'm Muyi Agumofo. We're saying thank you on behalf of the entire team here at Global Television. Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle with ASU strike.
You have done your work, you have put us to the wall. We are not your slaves. I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.